Hey, Dean. Okay, Dean, tell folks a little bit about you, and then I want to throw a hypothetical situation at you.
All right, good to be on today, Dean. Dean Isaacs, great name, by the way.
Fair enough.
I own two companies. Vantage Group is a sales and marketing strategy company where we do business growth strategy work, marketing and sales strategy. I also function as a fractional chief marketing officer and chief revenue officer. I also lead the Fractional Launchpad, which is a community for fractionals from all disciplines, helping them launch and grow their fractional business.
All right. So let's jump into scenario number one. Well, for whatever reason, maybe they're really close to your home. You got a new client, new engagement, and you're actually going to be there physically in day one, Monday, 9 o'clock. Okay. What, as you walk into that engagement and that whole scenario, what's your dream and what's your nightmare for what you're walking into?
My dream is that the CEO has set up everybody for success,
Okay.
especially if I'm coming in as a fractional, as part of that leadership team. The team knows what my role is, what my areas of responsibility are, and that I have the authority to drive the team in a particular direction. So it's about the people more than it is about the systems and what's working and what's not. It's setting us up for success first. That's the dream situation.
So what's the nightmare?
I walk in the first day and they go, "Who the heck are you?"
Yeah.
And the team's like, "Hang on a minute, is this dude going to fire me, change my world, move my cheese? What the heck is going on? I've been here for 10 years, blah, blah." That's the worst case scenario.
Yeah. Fair enough. And Ross, hi. Welcome back. Third time.
Hi, Dean. Third time's a charm, so they say.
Third time, man. Awesome. So I guess in your case, reintroduce yourself to these folks, and then let's do the dream nightmare scenario for you.
Absolutely. Ross Stockdale, owner and chief marketing officer of Thunderstock Marketing, where we help B2B, small and mid-sized businesses that are in the service industry grow profitably. So dreams and nightmares. This hits pretty close to home because I can actually picture it vividly.
Mm-hmm.
I'll start with a nightmare. Because this is in person, and when we do a lot of virtual things, we're interacting with screen. A lot of, as you know, Dean, communication is nonverbal. It's the emotional thing. It's the body language. And if I see body language of people that are slouched over, arms crossed, don't want to stand up to greet you and shake your hand, maybe disheveled. They could be hungover. They could be smelly. There could be all these off-putting signals about the brand of the company that first impressions make a lifetime. And they might say, "Oh, why are you wearing a button-down shirt that's tucked in? Who do you think you are?" Which has actually happened before at a client. That is hard to get over the health of an organization because as a fractional CMO, you need to be integrated with the leadership team. And if they're, defensive and posturing that they either don't care, they are just screaming they're unhealthy without saying a word, it's really tough to get over that first impression either way. That's the nightmare. The dream, kind of the opposite, where I walk into a place, everyone greets you as if you've been long lost buddies, even though it's the first time you've met them in person. They're really welcoming. The team has been prepared. They know what to expect because the rest of the members of the leadership team have disseminated this is what Ross is going to do. He's communicated clearly. We all have the same expectation. We're all on the same page, and we act and gel as a team before we even get step 1A accomplished.
So let's stick with our, hey, we're working with this customer scenario, Ross, for a second. And let's jump into the future, or at least as far into the future as this podcast ever goes, which is 90 days. So imagine this scenario. It's day 90. Someone at the C-suite level sees you in the hall there. It says, "Hey, man, like we were talking, I thought about you yesterday. And I mean, I understand like the initial value prop for why we brought you in, but the real aha moment for what you're accomplishing here just occurred to me yesterday. What was that aha moment?
Man, that's an amazing question. So the 90 days is the most important part of an engagement.
Right.
And I would say onboarding is the most important part of the 90 days. If you don't start off on the right foot. So
Mm-hmm.
I do a half day worth of work for a strategy session within 2 weeks of onboarding. And in that, to meet the expectation, to first set and then meet the expectation, because I feel like a lot of friction comes from uncommunicated expectations from both parties. What my goal is to say, here is the plan that we've all agreed upon, we're bought in, and even just having the plan, knowing who is responsible to do what will it cost, what is our time commitment, and what is the expected result for the next 90 days, setting it within 2 weeks usually makes the remaining 11 or so in the quarter a lot more friendly and a lot easier to get through.
No, fair enough. And Dean, how about you? Around
Yeah.
the 90-day mark, someone says, now I get it. Like, I understood it was like A, B, and C. I didn't realize it was factor X,
Yeah.
but now I see factor X. What is
Yeah.
that?
I'm with Ross. I think that first 90 days, actually the first 2 to 4 weeks, is so important to set expectation. So I would even take a step back and say, if we've done an effective job during discovery, during the sales process, and we have alignment around the goals and objectives that the C-suite has, then we have to start by communicating those goals and objectives with the team
Right.
that's actually going to produce results. And so the aha moment is often around alignment and effectiveness, because they've probably been running around chasing the tail, trying stuff or doing
Mm-hmm.
old things that didn't work. And it's that acceleration that you feel in the first 30 to 60 days when there's clarity and alignment, and the team is also part of building the plan. Even if we come in with the plan, even if we come in with the strategies in mind, is having them be part of that changes how they engage in the process. And it changes everything. It changes attitude, it changes results, and it changes velocity. And so that's the aha moment.
All right. So Ross, we're going to switch scenarios now. I'm going to run you through 3 questions or kind of fill in the blank, but your answer can be as long as it needs to be. And then we're going to switch back to Dean and do the same question. So you're on stage, it's keynote speaker, 250 people in the audience. They all came out of corporate and they all became fractional CMOs yesterday. They're brand new. Depending on how you want to look at it, they're either fresh out of the oven or fresh into the fire. How do you want to do it? So I'm going to give you 3 sentences that you might say in that speech, and you just finish the thought for me. Okay. First up, folks, I got to tell you, fractional CMOs starting out right now, the thing you're going to be shocked by is
The thing that you're going to be shocked by is just how much you need to forget about your corporate experience as a marketer.
okay. Keep going. Interesting.
Because when you're joining a team for the first time and you have 40 to 60 hours working with one client, now you have to juggle several. So you need to take the principles and the things you've learned and make them universal, applicable across the board for multiple clients and multiple businesses that are all unique. So this sameness that you've accustomed to, if you worked at the same corporate job for 10 years, great. Take all that with a grain of salt and forget 80% of it.
All right. Excellent. Next up, you're about midway through and you say, look, from one fractional CMO to another, I've worked with a lot of clients. I can tell you this. Most of your clients, maybe all of them, just don't understand what?
They don't understand that marketing is an investment and not a cost. Your clients are going to be looking at the clock as soon as you sign the contract and say, where are my leads? Why aren't all my problems solved? So your job is to get out in front of that anxiety that they're going to feel and set the roadmap and timeline and say, look, based on this strategy and plan and good faith execution, we should expect these milestones and these results by these time dates. And you stick to your word, because guess what? Everything's great until it's not. So set the right expectations, put a timeline on it, and hold to your word.
All right. And third of 3, sort of waving you off. but you're determined to say one more thing to this audience before they get you off the stage. And you say, look, before I step off this stage, I do need to tell you the number one lesson about getting clients is what?
Sometimes saying no to the wrong client is the best lead generation to getting the right client. Because as a fractional, the last thing you want to do is just say yes to anyone that wants to work with you. And if you end up there, you're probably going to want to quit and go back to corporate. So be selective early and learn how to say no.
All right. Good job. All right. So, Dean, you're on stage. You're looking at these suckers. You feel a little bit of pity for them, excitement, but a little bit of pity for them. And you say, look, if it was me starting out today, I think what I would have been most shocked by in 2025 as a fractional CMO is what?
I think they need to realize that it's going to be more difficult than the corporate job. And it's not the function of marketing, it's all the other things. As a fractional, as an embedded leader in the team, you're still not going to know everything that's going on. They're still going to do things they're not going to tell you about. It's not intentional. They just forget. If you're there one day a week, you're not always going to be in the loop. And if you came from a corporate CMO job, you were driving the ship. You knew everything. So expect that frustration. It's not intentional, but it's a reality. The other thing is multiple clients, multiple projects, multiple priorities. You have to be disciplined with your calendar, disciplined with your activities. This is not about how many hours you work. One of the badges of honor in corporate is I work 60 hours, I work 70 hours. That's not what this gig's about. This is about results. Right. So focusing on doing the activities that drive the agreed upon results.
And they're going to find that most clients just don't understand what?
They don't really understand what marketing is. Bottom line, they don't. They try and self-diagnose revenue issues, and they point to sales, they point to marketing, they point to social, they point to customer retention. They're guessing. They're not experts in our field, which is why they hired us. So our job is to help them diagnose quickly and provide solutions.
Well, I got to tell you guys a very short vignette. This is season 8 of the podcast. Every 25 episodes, it's a new season. In season 7, I had a question. It was just 3 words. What is marketing? And about half of guests, I would just get crickets. And so I took it out because even a lot of marketing people have trouble articulating what is marketing. I said, all right, this question needs to go. I can't have dead air in a podcast. That's the literal opposite of what you're supposed to have in a podcast. Okay. And then, Dean, last one, your number one lesson for these folks for either getting their first client or getting clients generally, what is it?
Spend time working on your ICP, your ideal client profile, understanding your niche, and understanding the common problems that you can help them solve that they think about. To Ross's point, one bad client, one bad decision can really affect your ability to grow your business, your mental health, your income, and all the things that we're trying to achieve as fractionals. So it is better to say no, but most don't. Most say yes to any revenue early on. So if you're doing that, if you make that conscious choice, be aware how it can impact the rest of your business. But niche, focus on a market, focus on an industry, be a visible expert for the kind of clients you want to solve problems for. Don't be a generalist. It will not get you where you need to be. You won't be successful.
I heard a great line on a podcast last week. Not mine, but it was about this company that had specialized in very much productized their service and kept niching down and until they got to basically just one thing they sold over and over. And the owner of that company said, companies expect insiders to be generalists and outsiders to be specialists. And the more I thought about that, I like if a line like that gets in my head and sticks around, I'll try to break it and pick it apart. And I can't really pick it apart. Yeah. That really is, for the most part.
Yeah.
Our company, they want their employees to be flexible and maybe cover different tasks and jobs, and people are at sick or what. They expect outsiders to be specialists in something.
Which is why they hire us, right? Because we are specialists in solving a particular problem, and we need to be known for that problem-solving ability.
All right.
Yeah.
So Ross, you're off stage now. You're out into the floor, right? All the booths are there. There's a lot of potential customers. You're having these one-off conversations with folks. As you're talking to prospects and they're talking to you about marketing, what do they tend to overrate with marketing and what do they tend to underrate?
99 out of 100 of the people I've talked to at this conference in this thought experiment have asked me, what do I think about AI?
Mm-hmm.
Have you tried this tool? Why would you still be on WordPress when you could be on something else, Card or Maker? And I would say the one person who's got it right is, oh, well, what's your offer to your clients? What's your story and why do you do what you do? People underrate the core principles of marketing, which is really to make known and to attract attention with storytelling and making compelling offers and packaging ideas. And they get caught up in trendy fads of algorithms and tools. And it's not like those are supposed to be assistants to marketing, not the substance.
Yeah. So they underrate.
They underrate content and stories and offers, and they overrate tech trends and algorithms.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in my business, of course, I'm brought in to write the first things that whether, there's 25 different ways to do it, but the first things that a prospect might ever read from that company or hear. And the first thing I always start with is, look, it's going to be your success in this is about 60% who we're talking to, and about 20% what the offer is, and 20% how it's written. And I said, no matter how good I am on the writing side, if we don't figure out a great offer, and if you're talking to the wrong people, you're wasting your money. But people like to concentrate on the writing part, and I think the writing is important. But honestly, if you don't go backwards, if you don't go upstream of that and make sure we're talking to the right people and we've put together an offer that they're interested in, it doesn't matter how good it is. No one's ever going to see it.
Right.
Yeah. The people and the offer and then how it's executed. Okay. And then, Ross, final question as you're walking around the floor, you're talking to these companies, prospective clients. When you're talking to a prospective client, what's a red flag and what's a green flag for you?
I would say a red flag is them saying, I want to work with you right away.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, how do you know that? Slow down. Green flag is, hey, when is a good time for us to have a 30-minute conversation so I can ask you a bunch of questions? One of Stephen Covey's principles of highly effective people is to seek first to understand. Mm-hmm. And if someone already has a preconceived notion, an expectation of me that I have no idea because I just met you, red flag. It's going to be unmet. I promise.
Right. All right. So then, Dean, you're out on the floor. When you're talking to prospective clients, and they're talking to you about marketing, what do they tend to underrate and overrate?
I think they underrate a couple of things. Is spending more time understanding their ideal client and the problems they're solving. I kind of mentioned this before, and how they fit into the problem, right? And understanding the common current state of their ideal client and the ideal future state, and how do we speak to that, because we fill that gap. I think the other thing they underrate is the importance of alignment around sales and marketing. And it's not sales and marketing, it should be sales and marketing alignment, because at the end of the day, we're all in the same business, is to drive revenue within the organization. And they silo those functions too often. So they underrate that alignment. Overrate, kind of to Ross's point, the shiny objects, right? The new tech, the new toys, the new platforms, the new marketing bro that says do this thing because AI is going to make you $1 million. They get distracted from the blocking and tackling that we know works. And again, to Ross's point, the tools and the tech and those things should be enablers, right? Maybe they're accelerators, but we can have the best tool in the world. But if we're executing poorly and going down the wrong path, we're not going to be successful.
And then when you're talking to prospective clients, what's sort of a red flag that'll stand out? And what's a green flag?
Oh, they think they know the problem and how to solve it, right? They've self-diagnosed. right? And they've tried to perhaps solve this problem in other ways,
Right.
and are just looking for the person that's going to say, yes, I can solve that problem that you tell me you have. So the lack of being open-minded and being willing to have that discussion and go through discovery and really figure out what's going on, that's a huge red flag. And then maybe also timeline expectations. They expect all the results to be complete in the first 30, 60, 90 days. They don't realize it takes time to turn a large ship around. Green flag is open-minded, good human, wants to understand, wants to have a conversation, has demonstrated to me that they've used outside advisors before in their business and listened to them and executed. Doesn't matter what discipline they're in, right? Too many of these owners, executives have churned through advisors and consultants, and they're looking for the next kind of like golden nugget. They don't have the ability to execute somebody else's idea. So that open-mindedness, I want to see an example of how they've used an outside advisor before and it's gone well, regardless of their discipline.
Right. All right. So, Dean, the day's over. You're staying in the same hotel that the conference is. So you're in the elevator, and Ross walks in the elevator. You don't know anything about Ross other than the fact that he's another fractional CMO like you. So you look at him and you say, hey, we don't know each other, but since I've got you here, let me ask you this about being a fractional CMO.
I would say, what was your first or biggest lesson that you learned that helped you put you on a successful path to growing your fractional business? That's
What do you got, Ross?
And then I would theoretically answer the
You could literally
first. Yeah, I'll literally answer. The first lesson that I had to learn in order to grow my fractional CMO business is that making one KPI, and that KPI is how many qualified offers do I make to qualified people, is the only thing that matters when you're getting started. And you have to be qualified people, and they have to be the offer that you want to make, not just like everything else. Everything else is noise.
All right. And then Ross, if you were you decide to ask back, since I got you here, let me ask you this about being a fractional CMO.
Dean, I'm curious about what do you like and dislike about being a fractional CMO? Like, what's the biggest difference to you about fractional CMO versus CRO? How do you make the distinction?
Yeah. The distinction is area of focus. As a CMO, we're focused on the marketing side of the business. We need to be aligned with sales, but sometimes CMOs aren't fully embedded in the revenue cycle and really understand the nuances of the actual deal-making piece. I like being in the CRO role because I see the world from a different perspective. And I look at the bigger picture because marketing feeds sales and supports sales. And sales has a very clearly defined responsibility. So the thing I love about being a CRO is you can pull those things together. So that the difference, I think, is that as a CRO, you're looking at the whole life cycle of client acquisition and retention. Whereas marketing, you've got a little bit of a more narrow focus on maybe more attraction, let's say, if we're going to simplify it. So to me, those are the big differences.
All right. So guys, this has been fantastic. Thanks again. Thanks for being here the first time, Dean, and thanks for being here the third time, Ross. So these days, Ross, who should be reaching out to you, and what's the best way for them to get to you?
You should reach out to me by either going to my website, which is next to my name, thunderstockmarketing.com, or checking out my podcast, The Thunderstock Show. Who I would like to talk to are essentially business owners that want to grow their marketing in 12 months, not by a little, not incrementally, but unlock how they can do it in 10x versus 2x. And if you're B2B, service-based business, United States, there's a good chance that we can have a great conversation.
All right. And the best way to get to you? Through the website or email or LinkedIn?
best way, check out my website, thunderstockmarketing.com. You'll find all the other links in order to get in touch with me there, or my contact form.
All right. And Dean, how about you? Who should be reaching out to you these days, and what's the best way to connect?
Yeah. For our consulting services and fractional revenue growth, businesses in the range of 3 to 50 million, professional services, consulting, tech, manufacturing, pretty broad distribution. Any business owners that are stuck in terms of growth, right? They don't know if it's a marketing issue, a sales issue, a product issue, and they want a more strategic approach to growing the business that produces predictable results. That's one group. On the other side, I know that many of your listeners are CMOs, fractional CMOs, and this is my 14th year as a fractional. And through that experience and the mistakes I've made and the lessons I've learned, we actually created a community for fractionals called the Fractional Launchpad. So if we have fractionals that are looking to transition from corporate into fractional, or you're doing consulting or fractional work and want to grow your fractional business but are stuck, reach out to me. Happy to chat, provide some advice. We have a community, a group coaching program, and an accelerator for that community. So fractionallaunchpad.com, or find me on LinkedIn. Hit me up there as well.
All right. Guys, this has been fantastic. Thanks again for being here. Thanks, everyone, for watching. We'll catch you next time.